Welcome back to Absolute Anima, the series about cinema and art nights, and today is a return to form as we not only cover an actual core member in Cinema Nights, but also our first 4-star review. But yes, I decided we're going to be doing Roberta today, because clearly we needed more Artificer-focused content, and Stainless won't be for a while, and I also have some more interesting takes on the Artificer class. With that said, let's talk about everyone's favorite Hollywood makeup artist turned engineer, shall we? It's been a bit since we last talked about artificers, so here's your refresher. Artificers can easily be placed into two schools of thoughts: offensive artificer and defensive artificer, with Stainless by himself over there being our equivalent of Magellan. Now, in the Alana video, I called it a modern day take on the instructor class, which I think is a take you can apply to all the offensive artificers, all two of them, and this is due to their nature of having a good mix of personal DPS and buffing. This doesn't apply to defensive artificers like Roberta. Yes, Roberta does have a S1 that boosts her attack, but her S2 falls in line with the trend they set with Catherine, plus her device's buff is inherently a defensive focused one, so she's a defensive artificer according to my arbitrary sorting system. What's interesting though is that unlike offensive artificers who have a more direct comparison in the form of instructors, defensive artificers really don't have one. While both share a common trait of increasing their block count, a trait more popular among defenders, but I really wouldn't put them in the same tier of capability as any of the defenders subclasses. I guess you can argue that this means they're closer to being an artificer than the offensive members, but let's be honest, what makes an artificer is the fact they are a buffer who does it through their unique devices. Just because the defensive subgroup has no true comparison doesn't mean they are better artificers. I mean, I think the two artificers in this subgroup are definitely more useful than their offensive counterparts, but it isn't because they also try to be DPSs. Anyway, that's one of the few questionable takes I'll be having this video, so let's move into the next one with Roberta's talent. Modeler Debugger is the usual affair for the Artificer class, with the talent dictating with what the device does, how many can deploy at once, how long they last, and how many we start off with when deployed. In this case, the Modeler provides shields and defense increase for 25 seconds to any melee operator directly ahead of the device, and we can have 3 deployed at once, and our starting total being 3. The defense buff isn't anything really substantial, with it being a 30%, but since it is a 4-star, I'm just going to go with the full pot numbers, so this is when the number is actually going to be 33%. 33% is frankly really nothing, but definitely in line with how Hyperglyph approaches defense buffing when it comes to buff units like this, because anything higher would come with a downside, like Whiplash only applies 14%, and while her S1 M3 can make it reach 42%, this is still restricted to block 3 or higher allies. Shining S3 at skill level 7 is 60%, which is okay, and her S3 M3 reaches a 100% modifier, but that's balanced out by the hefty downside of a 2-minute downtime. Even Shit for Brains, who has 2 separate defense modifiers, with Mod 3's 19% with pots, and S2 M3's 80%, has many restrictions to this, like S2 only targeting the ally with the highest block count in the surrounding tiles of him, and the talent only working when he's in blocking enemies, which is usually the norm for instructors like this. Oh yeah, I forgot. He also self-stuns for 5 seconds on skill 2, because he's shit. The point is, we should be grateful that the only restrictions on Roberta is 33% or 43% with mod 3, which you should be getting because it's the amazing module trait at the price of a 4-star module, is the fact that it's limited to melee units and the DP cost and space needed associated with device usage. Honestly, I think it needs more restrictions, because Roberta's module is easily the best Artificer device in the game and nothing comes close to it, and this is all because of how shields work. Right? For those not in the know, shields are effectively like Hoshigumi's attack null, but it's not chance related. It's a guaranteed block of basically any damage type, and the fact that Roberta's module gives you 2 of them per shield is obscene. I think the shields is why Roberta has a higher skill ceiling than the other artificers in her class, because by simply knowing when you deploy her devices can be the difference between a failed run and your Milo face rolling the fucking boss. I don't care if you disagree with me, but I think the simple addition of shields makes Roberta a valuable member in any high-end challenge content, and that's a hill I'm willing to die on. Her S1 is Syracusan style makeup, where she gains a basic attack and defense buff. Yeah, I know, real exciting, but I think the most interesting thing about this is what it implies about Syracusa. Like, is it implying that the way Syracusas apply their makeup gives them the motivation to do crimes? Or is this their way of saying it's their war paint? Anyway, it's really nothing special, which we should expect since it is a 4-star. These guys are supposed to be bare bones and simple to understand. That said, I think this skill is alright in one situation only, and that's IS. While I think in general use there's no real reason to use Roberta S1, it has a home in IS due to her low hope cost and no real competition in the supporter group outside of Radiant and Ling for most players. And now you know why all the gameplay footage so far has been in ISV, which is unironically my favorite IS. I can expand on that in the description maybe. Anyway, this one is an incredibly valuable skill early on in the run. Before you take her out from like an actual DPS or swap to a S2 for bosses. So with IS in mind, we can talk about her masteries because there's like two breakpoints, and while it's like perfectly reasonable to leave Roberta at skill level 7, it is a 4-star mastery cost, so might as well consider them. I'll put up the skill level 7 maps right now as our baseline, and it's perfectly serviceable, nothing too obscene. But it's reasonable. Now for the M1 breakpoint, which significantly ups her skill uptime from 30 seconds to 35 seconds, but it's only a 5% bump to those buffs, so a bit oof. And our final breakpoint, it is her M3, which is a significant drop to her SP cost from 30 to 25, which is huge value, especially for a 35-second buff, which now gives you a 50% boost to both her offensive and defensive. Because of this, I would highly recommend getting the S1 M3 before her S2 M3 if you like grinding IS, because her S1 M3 is cheap to do and provides a lot of value once you consider the recruitment costs in IS. Her S2 is where things get interesting. Full Auto Molar makes her stop attacking, gain block count, and a defensive boost for 25 seconds, and when the skill ends, you gain a Molar. I like that with her base skin, the implication is that she's literally crafting these things on the battlefield, which is extra funny when you remember that this gives her a block count, so she's literally ignoring like everything going around her and still somehow accidentally blocking enemies for the sake of making more of these machines whose main purpose is to beautify people. Anyway, I have mixed feelings on this skill. Focusing on the things that I like about the skill first, it gives you a device which is very good for long deployments with Roberta. It also makes Roberta a block free, so she's effectively acts like a cheap floodgate while the skill is up, and the defense is nothing to scoff at. At her skill level 7 defense modifier is on par with S1 and 3, and her M3 makes it 80%, so I'm just going to flash up the maths for that now, and I have included one with a mod free full pot device applying to her just in case you want to juice her numbers some more. I think those points make S2 an incredibly useful skill, but the reason why I'm a little down on it is because of the skill uptime. As you heard earlier in this video, I think her molars are the reason why Roberta is so good, but her S2 uptime is holding her back just a bit, and I know this is a nonsensical complaint because it fucking is. It's just waiting effectively 55 seconds to regain a device at its best possible condition with M3's 30 SP cost is a little rough to me. Yes, her S2 is incredibly good at stalling as well, but I think it will hold her back in higher end content where those devices matter the most. Honestly, I think a way to fix this issue would have just let her end the skill early if she wants to, as it can bring the regen time on the devices down to 30 seconds optimally. Honestly, at the end of the day, I'm just overthinking things, and full auto molar is an amazingly designed skill for Roberta, so don't worry about all that like I do, right? Just use the skill. Maybe at the end of the year, which feels weird because I swear I should have reached this point sooner. Being a 4-star, Roberta doesn't really have much substance to her. But I think the length of this video is a testament to her quality and usefulness. While 4 stars can often be hit or miss, Roberta has 2 solid skills with a very strong selling point in the form of her molar. I personally think she should be championed along the likes of Contra, Okada, and Beanstalk as exceptional 4-star operators who everyone should have built. Look, she really is just like this little makeup artist I could, and I'm so proud of her to be a part of the best niche knights in the games. That's right, anti-knights, baby, let's go!